Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode in my Dragon Quest XI skills guide for all the characters. Today's episode is, of course, going to be about Veronica. I just want to say thank you for the support on the first two videos on the hero and on Eric. It seems to be pretty well received, so I appreciate that a lot. And yeah, so today we're going to be talking about Veronica, who is probably one of my favorite characters in the game. And I said in the last video that Eric may be the highest damage dealer in the game. Veronica, however, may be able to combat that. So let's get into it. So, yeah, even the FAQ is right on this one by saying that Veronica is arguably the best character in the game. Although I don't think she's next to Hero arguably the best character in the game. I think Hero is definitely not the best character in the game. Anyway, so Veronica's obviously pitches your mage. And I am notorious for vouching for the fact that Veronica is a lot more than that, which we'll get into once we get into her weapons. And wow, this music's a little bit loud. I'm just turning that down a little bit. It's a little bit louder than I expected. Okay. So in terms of her magic, she'll join you like around level 12, I believe, which is why she gets this magic level 12. She gets all the offensive spells like Frizz, Fight and Ire. Ice and Ire? Fire and Ice, I should say. And one of the best spells in the game for the entire game is the Sap spell. She's one of your main Sap users. I believe she's one of the only Sap users besides Rab. And it attempts to lower a single target's defense by 75%. So this is pretty damn significant. The Kasab spell is just one stack, and this lowers by 50%, which I didn't know that was the case. I thought they were both perfectly the same levels. But yeah, the Sap spell is obviously more, because Kasab is AoE. So when it comes to boss fights, Sap is going to be your go-to spell for debuffing. Because physical attacks are so strong, like it's just so good. 75% defense reduction, so you're basically gonna be doing 75% more damage. In a way, I don't think that math is correct, but you know, take that where you will. So yeah, Sap is a go-to for the entire game. It's also one of the things that makes it so good, which I came to realize more in my current playthrough, is that even the problem with the late game bosses is that they have Disruptive Wave a lot, which basically dispels all your buffs. So if you're buffing yourself with oomph and stuff like that, they can just dispel it, which is really annoying and makes it kind of unfun. But obviously because Sap is targeted on the enemy, it makes it a lot better for those situations, because Disruptive Wave doesn't affect debuffs. So that's pretty damn good. Magic Barrier is pretty good too if you're facing a lot of magic. I mean, all allies 50%, that's pretty damn good. She can also lower agility as well, so I mean, even if you're not using Veronica that much for whatever reason, you're going to be wanting to bring her in no matter what, because her debuffing potential is so good. She can debuff agility and defense. She gets Bang, so she gets obviously all the core magic as you would expect. The Dazzle, you know, she gets a lot of utility. Kasap for AoE packs if you care. She mainly gets a lot of like a fire spells, kind of her thing. She gets Bounce, which is something I never really tend to use. Here we go, level 31, Oompful. I believe she is the earliest character to get access to Oompful. Which is obviously huge, because Oomph she doesn't get. Sylvando gets Oomph early on. Which is 25% attack, but Oompful is 50%. So that is very, very good at level 31. Very good. She gets Blunt, so you can try and lower enemy attack as well. And then just some more offensive stuff as you level up. All of this is okay. Like I've mentioned before, though, I don't think that Veronica's and just in general offensive magic in Dragon Quest is very good. As you can see, you know, it's capped. It has a soft cap with damage. Obviously it scales with your magical might, but there is caps on the spells. And it there's just better options, which we're gonna see very soon. Just like I said with the hero, the offensive magic is not really where it's at, in my opinion. Not to say that this stuff is bad. Kaboom is definitely pretty good later on, just because it hits all enemies, which is something that Veronica doesn't really have in any of her weapon trees. So I tend to use Kaboom a little bit. But other than that, not too much, except for this. Magic Burst. Deals 3 times your MP, and requires 64 MP to cast. And you lose all your MP. So you use all your MP to deal 3 times of your total MP. So if you have max MP, that's upwards of, well, it's just under 3,000 damage, which is insane. And because Elfin Elixirs are so easy to come by, especially in Act 3, because you can just buy them from the casino for really cheap, and it's easy to get the jackpot, you can stock up on a bunch of Elfin Elixirs, and it's worth taking a turn to restore your MP for the amount of damage the Magic Burst does. And on top of that, I know that these facts don't reference the pet powers, because they're technically between multiple characters, so it's not really fair to judge characters off the pet powers. But I will say that Mighty Magic Burst between Veronica and Serena is absolutely devastating. It's pretty cheesy, honestly, to use it, because you can just pet pop Elfin Elixir, Mighty Magic Burst, and continuously spam, and it's a pretty reliable strategy for the late game. It's pretty cheesy just because of how insane the damage is. I mean, it's just disgusting. But I'm not gonna get into that too much. But even Magic Burst on its own, sorry, is really good, especially in like the Wheel of Armor. If you put Veronica on her own, she can just fucking obliterate a pack. You know, only take 1 action just by using Magic Burst. So it's pretty insane. So that's all her spells. Well, most of her spells. Now we're gonna get into the age-old debate of the weapons. Now here's the thing. I said this in my Let's Play as well. This is in my video. Like, okay, wands suck. Wands suck. Here's why. So let's just go through the abilities they get. Heavy ones give first, and then I'll talk about why. Deals a freeze. Deals extra damage to demons. Why would you want this? I mean, yeah, it can cause paralysis. The damage factor is pointless because heavy ones do not have a good base attack, nor will Veronica have a good base strength anyway if you're not raising her strength. And if you're using heavy ones, then there's no real point in raising her strength. So, I don't know why you would ever use this. Anti-magic can silence an enemy. This is okay. I believe, though, Rab gets a spell that does the same thing. I'm not sure, though, but this could be alright. Staff of Salvation, she gets a heal. However, this is, you know, a pretty significant amount of points away. I believe it's like at the back of the tree. So you won't get this for a little bit. By the time you get this, you have plenty of healing. You can use medicinal herbs for basically the same effect. And then eventually you'll have Yggdrasil dues and all that good stuff. So this is absolutely pointless. Veronica doesn't need to be able to heal. And there are other ways of getting her to do that. You don't need to waste your time with this. Ring of Ruin increases critical spell chance by 20%. I guess if you're using like a spellcaster team and you want to buff everyone's crit chance with this, then this is okay because it does go on all allies. Like I said though, physical builds are just so much better damage output wise. And then Zing Stick, it's just a Zing spell, but it's a 100% chance. Yeah, this sucks because by the time you get this again, you'll be able to have plenty of Yggdrasil leaves because this is, I believe, her hidden panel. And Veronica doesn't need a raise. And your character shouldn't be dying that often that Veronica needs to have a raise. And even then, you know, Yggdrasil leaves. This is a worthless ability. And then she just gets a bunch of passive, like 2% MP absorb when you physically attack, which is just... It's just not worth it. I mean, none of these are worth it. You get 1 or 2 MP after battle, big fucking whoop. More MP. The only thing worth knowing here is the pep chance plus 10%. And even that is just like, I don't think that appears until Act 3. So, by that point, it's not even that significant. Yeah, yeah. So, this is the problem, right? This is more so a problem with Serena than I'd say Veronica, because Veronica probably has a higher MP pool and more damage output, but why... This is what I think is, but the same with Rab, Serena, and Veronica, is why would you gimp the characters into using staffs and kind of just have them waste time in random fights when you could have them use physical weapons and actually contribute some damage? It's Veronica is kind of the exception because she has, whoops, don't want to oh my DPI. She has so many so many offensive spells that don't cost very much MP in the grand scheme of things. But it's just not as good as what we're about to go through. Whips, man. Whips. Whips. Oh my god. I cannot sing the praises of whips enough. I've gone through this so many times. And I'm gonna do it again. But if you want me to maybe explain a bit clearer, because I'm actually looking at the skills, then here we are. So, this is like the age-old meme of the answer is you don't use whips for damage. This fact could not be more wrong in that regard. I don't understand how the author sat here and wrote this when he also had to write out some of these damage formulas. So anyway, let's go through like the ones that aren't as impressive first. Hypno Whip, 1.1 times your damage, so it's already more than your base. And it can put confuse on the enemy. It's also worth noting that whips innately hit groups, so it's just innate AoE damage for free, which is nice. So that's always going to be an upside of whips. Lashings of Love, 1.5 times damage to humanoids, so to an enemy group. This is actually a lot better than it sounds, and the main reason this is a lot better than it sounds is because humanoids are already kind of common anyway, but also if you are farming seeds for Veronica, which let me just say, obviously whips are a physical weapon, so you know, Veronica is the mage character. She doesn't get a lot of strength growth by herself, so whips may do a little bit of middling damage. Definitely on normal difficulty without any draconian settings, I'd say you don't need to raise her strength at all, because some of these later skills, looking at you right here, do enough damage to where you're going to be doing great damage with buffs and stuff anyway. You don't really need to raise strength. On harder difficulties, I'd probably say go for it a bit. And with that in mind, the brownie enemies that drop strength seeds throughout most of the game are considered humanoids. So farming these guys, you just have a very cheap, very effective ability to use that's AoE. So Lashings of Love I like a lot. Hit the Hay. Same thing as Hypno Whip, but with sleep. You just kind of tend to use these whenever. You know, the status effects are just a nice bonus, does a little bit more damage than a regular attack. Primal Lash again the same, so paralysis. So she has a lot of access to different status effects, and these can obviously be paired. If you get lucky with getting a status effect, then you can have Eric or Sylvando use Victimizer or Persecutor to combo off of these whip abilities, which is really nice as well. So just another benefit. Excuse me, I need coffee. Talk about all the things I want to talk about whips. But here we go. I'd say the best skill in the game overall, while I'd say Double Down probably has a higher damage potential. And this is also ignoring Mighty Magic Burst, I don't really count that. I'd say Double Down has a higher damage potential for sure. I mean, you might have seen my clip of Eric dealing 10,000 damage. Twin Dragon Glass you get a hell of a lot earlier. You can get it, you know, it's around, I think I got it around level 20 or 21. Just with redistributing Veronica's skill points. So for 8 MP cost, you get 2 hits of 2 times your base damage to a single target. So that is 4 times damage total. So you're getting 4 times your base damage. Now that is already crazy, even with Veronica's base attack. Anything that's doing 4 times your base damage is going to be good. And that's without even thinking about buffs. So oomping this using sap, I don't understand how you can write this down and then also write down that you don't use whips for damage. I mean, this is insane. It's 8 MP cost. Let's look at some of the spells. You know, you're getting Frizz's 8 MP cost that does... It's capped at around 114 damage. Crackle, 8 MP cost. I know these are AoE, but you get my point. I mean, come on. This is just 21 MP cost for up to 300 damage to a single target. I was doing more than 300 damage at level 21. So, even just looking at cost, and then it's obviously physical, so it's affected by sap. You can use oomph. It can crit. Most importantly is that because it's separated into 2 hits, both of these hits can crit, which makes it even better. I mean, I can go on and on and on. It is so insanely good, and getting this as early as the low level 20s without raising Veronica's strength is already so destructive. But of course, you can also farm brownies in Gallopolis and get strength to so early that it's so easy to make Twin Dragon Lash absolutely disgusting. Now, I played my first playthrough with no draconian settings. I used Veronica with whips, and I only, I think, used around 30 strength seeds on her just to give her a little bit of a boost. And I was using whips with Twin Dragon Lash for the entire game, and the damage never fell off. So, I don't know what else to tell you. It's so worth it. It's so fun. It's just fun. Whips are fun. Please give them a chance. Do not let the game forcing staffs and spells and making Veronica the mage character, do not let that put you off. Whips are the way to go. Trust me. Star Strike, I didn't really ever use that much. I don't think it's that great. It can affect Dazzle, I suppose, but this is one of the ones that I kind of forget about, to be honest. Here we go. Here's the other amazing whip ability, in my opinion. Whip Crackle. Sadly, you don't get this till Act 3. But it is 3.2 times your base lightning damage, which is a great element. And it's to a group, and it has a high crit chance. I've shown this off in my current playthrough, how amazing it is. The only problem with it is that because it hits a group, the damage starts to diminish as it goes along the screen, unlike boomerangs, where the damage stays consistent with abilities like Power Throw and Double Down. But it is pretty damn devastating. I mean, if you're just taking out a couple enemies, you are going to absolutely just annihilate them with Whip Crackle. It is so good. So good. And it's lightning damage, so not a lot of enemies resist that. And like it says, it has a high crit chance, so pair this with late game weapons that give crit chance and gear that gives crit chance. Oh baby, Whip Crackle is good. Worm Whip is the only one that I'd say kind of sucks. It's 3 hits of 0.6 times your damage. The description of this is very deceiving in game. It sounds like it should be an upgraded Twin Dragon Lash because it's like 3 powerful dragon heads. It sounds like it should be, but it's absolutely not. As you can see, it's 0.6 times your base, just single target. So yeah, the damage kind of stinks. It removes positive buffs, which is a nice effect about it, but there are other things you can do to do that. I mean, Rab has a spell that does it. I think there's other abilities that do it. I just never tend to think to use it. So this kind of crap. And then, of course, she gets plenty of attack passives to help boost the damage because of her low innate strength. She gets a little bit of MP absorbing, and she gets Pepper Power up under this tree. So please ignore what the writer says here, because you absolutely do use whips for damage. I mean, look at these multipliers. I mean, come on. It says that Twin Dragon Lash is good at fusing against metal slimes. I mean, sure, it's good on everything. I don't I don't know what else to tell you. And then her signature tree is Vim, which is... it's okay. Nothing too special. There's a few nice things early on. This gets a little better in Act 3. Wizard Ward raises your spell resistance. It's only on Veronica, which is kind of sucky. If it was on everyone, raising their spell resistance for 4 to 6 turns, then I'd say it's a little bit better. But if you're having trouble against spell users, I guess you can use this. It does last quite a while, so it's okay, but nothing to write home about, really. Spooky Aura. Again, if you're going the spell casting route, you can lower an enemy's resistance to offensive spells. But, like, I'll always just say that the physical attacks in Dragon Quest, at least Dragon Quest 11, are just so much better than the magical route. Besides a few exceptions, like Magic Burst. And, you know, situations where you kind of need magic. You know, I can't really show you how much better physical damage is than magic damage in these kind of guides. You just have to kind of take my word for it and try it out and test it out for yourself. All I can do is show you the skills and talk about my experiences with them and what I think is best. Sage's Breath is... This description's wrong. Sage's Breath does not restore 5% of max HP. It's MP. Yeah, this description's wrong. Yeah, this description down here, they talk about MP restoration. Yeah, Sage's Breath is MP restoration. So if you're really desperate for MP, you can get a little bit of MP regen. I never really wasted a turn using this though. But if you're in a boss fight and you ran out of MP and you need more MP, there you go. Again, very situational. Channel Anger. Again, this is good if you're going a spell casting route. And then later down the line in Act 3, Vim hides behind some of the quote-unquote ultimate spells. Kaboomal is good, like I said. This has a pretty damn high damage ceiling for what it is, and it hits all enemies. So for AoE packs, this is pretty good. I always go with Whip Crackle if it's groups, but if there's, you know, if enemies aren't grouped up and there's a lot of random kind of enemies and you need to hit all targets, then Kaboomal is definitely Veronica's best option. She doesn't have really any other, doesn't have any all targeting abilities in terms of whips or physical damage, so Kaboomal is actually pretty great. In my opinion, one of her spells is actually worth using, and it's light damage too, so not much resistance there. Gafrizzle is pointless. I mean, it nearly does the same amount, it has the same damage cap as Kaboomal on a single target, which is just kind of laughable. The most important things I'd say in Vim are definitely this ice and wind resistance that you see here, and fire and earth resistance. These are available in Act 1, and then she gets light and lightning in Act 3. These are really nice. Like 20% elemental resistance is a lot. Definitely this ice and wind one is good against bosses like Crystalinda, and it's just really good to have. So it's definitely one of the best things she has in the tree. She gets just a lot of passives. And then Enchanting Echo is a nice bonus you get in technically Act 2. If you know, you know. But in Act 3, Enchanting Echo is basically a random chance to double cast an ability. It's nice when it procs. It's nothing you can rely on just because it's so random. I don't know the exact percentage chance. It doesn't say. Yeah, it doesn't really talk about Enchanting Echo at all. That's fine. It's just a random chance to double cast your spell at no extra MP cost, I believe. Yeah, I don't really tend to make use of this, mostly because the only spells I tend to cast with Veronica are debuffing spells like Sap, and when you double cast Sap, it makes absolutely no difference. Or same with Oompful, you can't stack any more than 50% and 75% respectively. But, you know, when you get the occasional Enchanting Echo when I've cast a Kaboomal, that's always nice, but it's nothing you can really rely on. And I've never seen it proc on Magic Burst either, probably because Magic Burst usually kills everything that I use it on. But I'm sure it can technically proc on Magic Burst, because, I mean, why wouldn't it? So, yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about Veronica in terms of individual skills. All I can do is just stress, please try out whips. It's so hard to recommend this to people and to see people actually doing it, because the game obviously pushes staffs on Veronica so much. I mean, she comes pre-equipped with a staff. When she's an AI bot, she has a staff. She is presented as the Sage. She has all her magic. So you're never just gonna think, why would I try out whips? But if you're gonna start a new playthrough, give it a go. Staffs are just not as fun. That's all I'm gonna say. Twin Dragon Lash is amazing. Go have fun with it. Buffing Veronica and then popping a Twin Dragon Lash on a boss. It's so unbelievably satisfying. And it's what makes her probably my favorite character in the game. So yeah, there you go. I hope that was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. And I will see you next time where we'll talk about Serena, our favorite healer. I will see you then. Bye-bye. Take it easy.